Hi there guys, my name's Action Dan and welcome back to my video. We'll continue watching this very interesting documentary someone put together where we have flat earthers versus scientists in a big brawl trying to decide is the world flat or is it round. Let's get straight back into it.
We're being deliberately misled by mainstream media.
What's your evidence?
We see too far. We see too far. We should not be able to see. I live in Dana Point.
I know what she's going to say before she says it. She's just going to say there's some mountain. If the world was curved, I shouldn't be able to see it from one point to the other. But every single time they say these things and people put the numbers together, it all works out exactly correct with the curvature of the planet. 40 miles away or something like that. If the Earth was round, I'm not meant to be able to see it. It still looks like the whole mountain to me because the Earth is flat and I can see the whole mountain from really far away. No, you can't. Every single time someone has taken a photograph of any mountain you ever talk about, flat earther, and you see the idea of the shape of the mountain, when you then show your photograph and you're standing your distance away from it, you get out your calculator and the idea of the curvature of the planet and the ratios match up to show the exact right amount of that mountain is missing. Just because you can see it from your distance of 40 miles or something like that doesn't mean the Earth is flat. There's another time I've personally experienced that the Earth is round. I started looking ahead of me to the beach we're going, which was far away. It was like 42-kilometer kayaking trip on the ocean. And I looked at my Google Maps phone about where we're meant to be going. And I'll try and put something on the screen as I'm talking so you get more of an idea of what I'm talking about. On the map, it displayed that we were inside a bight of land, and in front of us, directly north in the direction I was meant to be going, there was meant to be land that we're heading to. I looked at the land on my right-hand side and I tried to paddle straight in line with that land so I get an idea of what way I'm facing on the Google Maps. And every time I looked at Google Maps, if my land was at my 3 o'clock, there was meant to be land directly ahead of me until an angle of something like 11 o'clock. But when I looked in front of me, I couldn't see any land. I just saw what originally was these 3 little islands and then a big giant gap, and then the land started again. And I was very confused, scratching my head. I'm like, it looks like we're going out to the ocean, I said to my friends, and these look like 3 islands, but I don't see anything on Google Maps that looks like 3 little islands. And I just ignored it and thought, well, there's got to be some explanation for this, just forget about it, keep paddling. As we kept paddling, these islands seemed to get bigger, and I thought, well, that's because we're getting close to them. And then once we got even more closer, I looked up and I was confused that the 3 islands had now become 2 islands. And then we paddled a bit more and the island became 1, and you're probably getting the idea of where I'm going with this now. Why did it look like there was 3 islands and then 2 and then 1? Ah, I get it. It's because when we were far away, those 3 points were high points on the land, on the coast that's not too tall. Most of it's under a height of something like, I don't know, 6 meters, I'll say roughly. So I think there was just a couple of banks of land with some trees and bushes and stuff on top of those bits of land. So far away, this is the line. I'll put it on the screen. And these are the little hills that are only a couple of meters high. When we're far away, we saw 3. Then we get closer, the line comes down because of the curvature of the planet. Now they look like 2. Then the line comes down. I'll do an animation so it's much easier to explain. And they all became 1. And I found that incredibly interesting. I hope you go out on a boat or a kayak one day and do that. Look at something far away and watching how these little things that look like islands all blend together as you get closer and closer and turn into one thing. And you work out, if you take photographs and look at those particular things that look like islands, if you can watch those continuously as you get closer and closer and keep re-identifying where they are, you could probably walk there and realize that they're high little hills of land. And that is why they look like islands from a distance.
Okay.
I can see San Clemente Island, which is 60 miles away.
So what? Very high.
What do you mean, so what?
Oh, I'm on the beach.
1,100 feet
I'm on the
tall.
beach.
It is
What do you mean by
tall.
so what?
I'm on the beach.
Yeah.
Can you see a ship which is going?
We're
Oh
not
yeah,
talking
let's talk
that.
about the ship that goes
Yes.
over the curvature
Okay.
of the Earth. I love
So-
that. So science has said that when I see a ship go out of my field of view, it's going over the curvature of the Earth, correct?
Yes.
But then I bring my P900 up, and guess what? I can zoom it back in.
Not
So
all
is
the
it
time.
going over the curvature of the Earth or not?
Absolutely.
Oh, not all the
No, you
time?
can't.
Not
No,
all the
no,
time?
no, you don't see all the ship. The bottom part of the ship
Yes.
is hidden by the
At that
curvature.
distance, you shouldn't see the top
At
of it
all.
either.
What? Are you f***ing serious? If I just put any shit like this here, what? Does that get rid of it? Are you going to leave me alone? Huh, yeah, just like I thought.
If the Earth were truly flat, there would be really hardly any limit. You'd be able to stand at the top of the Empire State Building and look towards Chicago, a mere 1,000 miles away, and see the lights of Chicago at night.
No,
Why wouldn't
no, because you have an atmospheric disturbance.
Very thick.
I've been
Water
into
alone.
astronomy since I was 10.
It's faulty logic. It's completely faulty logic. Okay.
One of the big things I do is investigate extraordinary claims like flat eartherism or ESP or all sorts of different things. The Earth is undoubtedly a globe and not flat. This is well supported by gobs of science.
Scientific consensus is possible.
Scientific consensus is possible.
What is the question?
I don't understand the question.
Scientific consensus is possible.
Possible. Anything is possible. I mean, anything is possible. I've got a tremendous issue with consensus and peer review. I've been spending a lot of time arguing with people that argue the other side. And I found that surprisingly, consensus always wins. It was shocking to me that the group with the majority has an incredible advantage. As scientists, flat earthers, truthers, punks, we're at an incredible disadvantage.
Let's talk about scientific consensus for a second. You're never going to get 100% of anyone. There is scientific consensus on a global Earth. There's scientific consensus on evolution. A lot of big issues.
Use the word theory.
Do you know what a theory in science is an extremely...
And a fact is a fact.
Don't mistake this word theory.
You are,
in
not
science, it's not conjecture, it's not...
It's an explanation. By definition, it's an explanation.
It's a deep...
Well, let's talk
So this
about a
is
fact.
something
Show me a
people
fact
made
then.
a mistake.
Why
They
aren't
think
all
theory
facts
is-
theories?
In science, the word theory is the highest level that you can give something because it's so well supported.
What about a fact?
That is a fact. It's
Not a fact, you would call it a fact.
You know why? Do you know why? Because in science, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to find to tweak and find better information.
So that is how science works.
It gets better refined over time, as opposed to flat earth theory, which never gets refined. It simply is what it is.
New ideas have limited access to media and limited exposure. Until we're in university curriculums, we will continue to appear uneducated.
Well, that's not true. In the history of science, we had many occasions that the ideas, it was not welcomed by the society. Einstein was one of them. Galileo was one of them.
But they're not just a group of people that get together like this guy is suggesting, the flat earther, and just saying that all scientists are just fake people that get along and just want to agree upon each other with everything. There's a lot of the world's most famous scientists that had their entire lives destroyed by what they believed was true and having to prove that it's true, had their lives destroyed before it was proven. So don't just say they're a bunch of friends that just agree upon crap.
But if your theory is an authentic one, and it can go through this hardship of scientific method, eventually will win.
I used to believe that science was after the truth, right? We all just want to know what the truth is. Science has been trying so hard to divorce itself from the idea of a creator when God's intent was to create science to lead you to Him. You know, sometimes things seem supernatural that we are able to explain later through, science. Okay, I understand. But there are other things as well that are supernatural, that go beyond the natural, that we can only explain through believing in a creator, right?
This is my big issue with science, scientific approach and non-scientific approach. You are absolutely right. In science, we are after the truth. And we are hoping by each day we're getting closer and closer to the truth. We never get there. Never.
Well, I know that's true for you. And
No, that's a science. That's you guys. You think you do have the truth. Now let's look at the evidences. As you were mentioning, you do have the conclusion. Let's find the evidences. Science doesn't work that way.
That's not true.
that's not what
That
we-
is not true.
Well, you are saying
No.
you are referring to Jesus, whom many billions of people do not believe, including myself.
And many more billions do.
I went to normal school until I was in year 7, and I was the age of 12. God had never been taught to me in just about any way imaginable. When we went to our first private school in year 7 and year 8, it was a Christian primary school and a Christian college, and I surprised myself. I was a naughty boy, but I greatly loved the stories of God and the Bible, and I straight away, weak-minded or not, I believed in God, and I had great fun, and I love these stories. But then it only took a maximum of 2 years before I said one day officially, I won't go into the story why, some other time, that no, sadly after 2 years I no longer believe in God, because as much as I wanted to, none of them had any facts supporting them. They were all just stories, and there was many facts contesting them, saying otherwise. So as much as I wanted to believe in this great God, I was upset that I had to let God go after 2 years, because everything just kept saying it's not true, and that facts say otherwise, and that God did not create the world, and so on.
So what?
So who's right?
Of course I can.
So
When you say that we start with a conclusion and then try to match everything to make it work, like that to me is complete dishonesty. That is not true at all.
That is what you are doing
No,
right now.
you're not. You're making that assumption,
No,
which
it's
I
not
think
my
science does a
assumption.
lot of.
Well,
So do you make assumptions or not?
Science makes assumptions, and then they spend endless amounts of time proving them. Then they say they're facts.
Well supported.
They don't just make stupid
proven
guesses.
And reproven. We don't have
Show
to.
me how you isolate gravity. If gravity
Oh, wow.
is
You
don't
an
have to-
assumption, show me in a
Getting
scientific
feisty.
method how you isolate gravity.
we've done that actually.
Have a drink of water.
Yeah, sure.
You're like a little round hard candy.
It is important not to get upset with this thing.
I just want to check in. How are you guys feeling? How's this discussion going?
Just right there where they're getting upset, I'll try and remind myself that whether or not the earth is round, flat, or more in my case, with my wife who is heavily Christian and believes in God, and we've just had our child, I'll be trying to remember this point they're getting across here, that it's okay to have different beliefs. That's what I'm going to be trying my hardest to do, and make decisions very slow and carefully with the developing of my son. He's only just been born. I'm very scared and wondering over something like what's probably the most important is the first 4 or 6 years of his life when he starts his school. I won't care if it's a Christian school or not, and I won't be setting out to tell him a God's not real or anything like that. But if he ever asks me questions, I will be telling my son that we need to find facts to agree on, and that theories are not good enough.
I kind of feel like I want to develop some of this stuff a little bit more. It feels high level, but I feel like there's so much that I haven't really even touched base on.
Did I say anything? I didn't say anything.
Well, I mean, I certainly didn't think that anybody was going on either side was going to flip.
Well, there's still time.
There is still time. I have hope for you, Wendell, and Shelley. I don't know about Dan. I have hope for you too. But you know, it's certainly. I'm glad it's a civil discussion. Certainly.
Oh, yeah.
Put your waters to the side, and let's do another round.
Hey, one side.
He flipped! Wendell, welcome aboard. Welcome.
The greatest moment in television history, right there.
All right. NASA is trustworthy.
So, I mean, obviously, any organization can be wrong with certain things, and they may have individuals that lie or deceive or something. But as a general organization, they're looking for the truth.
Yeah, the idea that NASA and the government is lying to us about the shape of the Earth is the height of conspiracy theories. In order for this to be true, the literally hundreds of thousands of people who at some point over the last 50 or 60 years would had to be somewhat complicit in this, and nobody spills the beans at all, is on the face of it completely unbelievable.
So anyways, I think we'll pause it there this week and continue next week with that very simple common sense point this guy is trying to get across on that how can everyone on the planet that has these hundreds of thousands of jobs involved all have the idea of the same conspiracy, agree upon what they're going to say, remember everything the exact false way, and they all just have fake jobs, some big giant government conspiracy. We'll continue on right from here next week, and this will be my final installment on this very interesting documentary I watched and decided to put together with a bit of my own commentary. Hope you guys are enjoying so far. If you want to see the last part of this video, make sure you click on the link on the left. If you want to see one of my random outdoor adventures, click on the link on the right. See you next time. Bye.
Action time, the greatest hero of them all.
Well, hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, remember, please subscribe. Because if you don't, my wife said I'm wasting too much time. She's gonna take this computer away from me.